Senator Reynolds.
Thank you very much, Mr President. And I rise to ask my question to the Attorney General, Senator Brandis, and I do it with some degree of sadness today to actually have to ask this question. But can the Attorney General comment on the consequences of Labor's decision this morning to deny Australians marriage equality?
The Leader of the Government in the Senate, the Attorney General, Senator Brandis.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Mr President. Thank you, Senator Reynolds, for that question. This morning, I'm sorry to say, Senator Reynolds, this morning the Labor Party has driven a stake through the heart of marriage equality. Has driven a stake through the heart of marriage equality because, Mr President, regardless of the piety we hear coming from people like Senator Wong, who assert that they believe in this cause. And you say it matters to you, Senator Wong. Why won't you do something about it? Why won't you do something about it? Senator Wong, in 2004, you came into this chamber and voted against marriage equality, as the division list reveals. For 6 years, from 2007 to 2013, you were a senior minister in a...
Order. Point of order from Senator Williams was on his feet first. Senator Williams.
Mr President, as you're aware, I spent some time in your position as Deputy Chair. And when I was in that position and Senator Wong was speaking, when people would interject, she would stop and stare at the Chair and demand silence. Now she's even interjecting me now.
Your point of order, Senator Williams.
My point is, will you please bring her to order? Remind of Standing Order 197, if necessary, Standing Order 203.
Thank you, Senator Williams. Order. Order. Could I remind all senators to curtail their interjections? Senator McDonald, and in particular, and I'm reluctant to do so, but I'll remind both leaders not to shout across the chamber also. And I remind all senators not to interject. Senator Brandis, you have the call.
Thank you, Mr President. So, Senator Wong, for 6 years between 2007 and 2013, you were a senior minister in a government that did not one thing, not a single thing to advance marriage equality. In July 2010, you said on the 10 network that you were against marriage equality. And today, this morning, you have been part of a caucus that has put a roadblock in front of the only feasible possibility of seeing marriage equality in Australia anytime soon. In fact, Senator Wong, but for the decision you and your caucus made this morning, within 4 months from today, we could have this outcome. Senator Wong, you have for years now said you believe in this. Why have you put a roadblock before it today?
Thank you, Attorney General. On my left. Order. 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 Senator Cameron and Senator McDonald. Order. Senator Wong. Senator Reynolds, supplementary question. Order. Senator Wong and Senator Cameron. Order. Senator Reynolds, supplementary question.
Thank you. Clearly, Mr President, the truth hurts. Can the Attorney General please explain, despite this, how the government is progressing this issue?
Attorney General.
Yes, Senator Reynolds, I can, and may I say how proud I am to be a minister in the first Australian government of either political persuasion to progress the issue of marriage equality, led by Mr Turnbull, the first Prime Minister, and to be the first Attorney General in office to be progressing this issue. So we brought a plebiscite, took a plebiscite proposal to the 2016 election and had it endorsed. We introduced a plebiscite bill into the Parliament. In the meanwhile, I attempted to negotiate in good faith with the Shadow Attorney General, Mr Dreyfus, and asked him whether he had any counter-proposal, if there was any way that the government could amend the plebiscite bill so as to make it acceptable to the Labor Party, and he refused to say a word. He refused to say a word. And now, tonight,
Thank you, Attorney General. The time for answering the question has expired. Senator Reynolds, a final supplementary question.
Yes, thank you. Can the Attorney General advise the Senate how the government is honouring its commitment for a plebiscite?
Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Well, Senator Reynolds, I'd begun to tell you. So we introduced a bill. We offered to negotiate with the Labor Party to accommodate any legitimate concerns they may have had, and they refused to engage in a good faith discussion with us. Last night, the government authorised the release of an exposure draft of a marriage amendment bill, which will form the basis of a community discussion as to how, in the unlikely event that there is now a plebiscite, the matter would come before the Parliament. And can I, in closing, appeal to the crossbench, Mr President? It is not too late, Senator Hitch, and other members of the crossbench, it is not too late to reconsider your position, to give Australians the marriage equality you say they deserve, and to give it to them within 4 months by supporting this bill.
Thank you, Attorney General. Order. Senator Cameron, Order. Senator Cameron, you've interjected on every question so far. Please desist. Senator Watt.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Attorney General, Senator Brandis. I refer to the evidence of the former Solicitor General, Dr David Bennett, to the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee inquiry into consultations prior to the making of directions concerning opinions of the Solicitor General. Can the Attorney General confirm that a member of his staff was dispatched to Sydney to sit next to Dr Bennett while he was giving evidence to the Senate committee via telephone?
The Leader of the Government in the Senate, the Attorney General, Senator Brandis.
Yes, that's right, Senator. Let me explain why. Because there were certain privileged documents that may have come into issue, and it was necessary, therefore, for Dr Bennett to know when the government proposed to claim privilege in relation to the documents.
Senator Watt, a supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Why did the Attorney General feel it was necessary to have a member of his staff stand over Dr Bennett as he gave evidence to the Senate committee? What was the Attorney General worried that Dr Bennett would say?
Attorney General.
Well, Senator, surely, Senator, what's his name? Senator, you can do better than that. A member of my staff was present when Dr Bennett gave evidence by Senator Watt and gave evidence by teleconference. For the reason I just explained, because certain privileged documents were in issue, and in those circumstances it was necessary for Dr Bennett to know when the government proposed to claim, if and when the government proposed to claim privilege in relation to any such documents.
Thank you, Attorney General. Order. Order. Senator Watt, final supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr President. Can the Attorney General assure the Senate that he has not sought to stand over other witnesses to the Senate inquiry, including the Deputy Secretary of his own department?
Attorney General.
Senator Watt, I've been a barrister for 33 years and I've never stood over a witness in my life.
Thank you, Attorney General. Senator Fawcett. On my left. On my left. Order. Senator Carr and Senator McDonald. Senator Fawcett.